Will Miles be able to save his home from getting caught in the crossfire of two vengeful gods? Or is this one battle the young Spider is not equipped to handle? Well, let's hop into the pages of Miles Morales Spider-Man issue number 36 and find out together, shall we? So then, picking up directly from where the last issue left off, a vengeful Ares, after having attained the rank of Skyfather, had decided to drop the arena for the final battle in this tournament of the gods, right smack dab in the middle of the Vision Academy school in Brooklyn. This is terrible news because it means all of Miles's classmates, as well as pretty much everyone in the surrounding area, are in grave danger right now as Ares and Anansi are about to start throwing hands at each other. Thankfully, the two gods are so absolutely engrossed in their centuries-old feud, Miles and the rest of his friends are able to swoop on in and evacuate the school as best they can, while also having to contend with those carrion redbirds from the previous issue. Gust actually ends up probably doing the best in winning the hearts and minds of the community. One lady even calls her Gust Girl, only for her to go, oh no, it's actually just Gust, one word, but thank you. Now, during the big final round of the Battle of the Gods, Anansi the storyteller actually ends up taking an early lead. He's still royally pissed about what happened to his first champion, Arachne, and in between giving Ares a super cool missile dropkick, asked the all-important question: why would a god of war be so cowardly as to use rumor mongering to go after him? And honestly, Ares' answer is surprisingly telling when he says that he hated Anansi because he was not one of them. He was a startup god from a strange land, and as such, he did not belong. Ooh, a little bit of racist subtext there, am I right? Now, while that's going on, Miles' attempt to evacuate the school ends up hitting a brick wall in the form of Zip Zephyr, the angry wind god who is still looking to try and get his wind back from Miles from the beginning of the series. This whole tournament and the ensuing evacuation attempt have left Miles incredibly weakened. But just because he's down doesn't mean Spider-Man is out. In fact, he ends up changing his entire tactic completely by trying to appeal to Zephyr on a human level. It's very clear the wind god has been Ares' whipping boy since all of this began, and Spider-Man says that it doesn't have to be that way, that the other Olympians will never love and respect him, and that if he truly wants to regain his worship as a god, then what he should do is be a god worth worshipping, one who uses his powers to help. Or, you know, as Miles says, to quote a friend of his, with great power comes great responsibility. This is enough to not only get through to Zip Zephyr, but also the other two demigods on Ares' fight team who weren't exactly feeling his ascension to Skyfather, or indeed the level of pettiness that permeated this whole battle. And hey, wouldn't you know it, but with friend and foe alike all on his side, Miles manages to lead one final charge. First, to save the last of the people in the school, including Miles' teacher, who has always given him a hard time, before eventually taking the fight directly to Ares himself. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, hey, isn't he the god of war? Doesn't conflict literally power him up, and he's Skyfather now, so shouldn't he be stronger? Well, funny thing about that, Anansi says those kinds of powers have their limits, and it seems that Ares reached those long ago. Throw in the fact that it's Miles and several heroes and demigods all taking turns whooping his ass together, even Skyfather Ares isn't strong enough to stand up against such a repeated and concentrated assault. With the god of war defeated, this tournament of the gods has officially come to a close, with Team Anansi walking away the winners. And because of that, the god of stories gets to set the terms. Ares is no longer able to darken the doorstep of Miles or his friends moving forward, and should he break this pact, he will incur the wrath of the other Skyfathers. Understandably, Ares is totally pissed. He says that he will abide by this ruling, but that Miles should watch his back because Olympus's memory is long indeed. And hey, now that the major threat with the villain has ended, Miles also takes this opportunity to have it out with Anansi. After all, he did kind of jerk him around and lie to him this whole time, if only to make him an unwitting pawn in this long-standing feud with Ares. And you know what? The storyteller god admits, yeah, I was kind of being a dick on this one. I am sorry, let me make it up to you. For starters, Anansi actually uses his power to rebuild Vision Academy and indeed most of downtown Brooklyn. Yes, apparently he could always have done that, but forever the storyteller, he wanted to wait till just the right moment when it was the most narratively effective to do it. As a further reward too, Anansi even takes Miles to his own personal pocket dimension where he further thanks him for everything he's done. Yes, he picked him as a champion because he thought he would help him in his fight with Ares, but that wasn't the only reason. Here, Anansi, who is actually dressed down for the first time all series, says that he picked Miles because he liked him, but more importantly because he thought he could learn from him while also teaching. But he also agrees that he did probably ask too much of him and that he's being a bit of a pain, and because of that he vows to back off moving forward. Oh, he'll always be there if Spider-Man needs him. But perhaps now it's best if his story gets back on track, which is exactly what happens as Anansi sets the clock back to the very beginning of the story before all of this happened. Oh, don't worry, everyone still has their memories. They know that a big tournament of the gods took place in downtown Brooklyn. It's just now they got back all the time that they would have lost. Likewise, Gust actually followed Zip Zephyr when he left because, let's face it, we're 90% sure that he is actually her father. Now, as the comic comes to a close, Miles and Genki end up walking home, while reiterating how crazy that last adventure was, hanging out with gods. Learning that your psychiatrist is a Hulk, that's all pretty nuts, but they hope things will finally start getting back to normal sooner rather than later, and wouldn't you know it, at that very moment we're introduced to two brand new characters. Super thieves Anari and White Cat, who vow to make their appearance known in the next issue. And so that was Miles Morales Spider-Man issue number 36, everybody, and ultimately I felt this was a very strong conclusion to what ended up being a super fun, super creative story arc. I know some people in the comments section were complaining that they felt like Miles took a back seat in the last couple issues, and I mean, they're not 100% wrong, and I hope that they appreciate as much as I did that this issue not only recenters Miles as the heart of the story, but also allows him a super awesome hero moment wherein he is able to extend all he has learned to someone like Zip Zephyr and the other gods to help them change their ways long enough to defeat Ares. Again, I love the whole legacy of it all. Uncle Ben changed Peter's life. With great power comes great responsibility, and now Miles is paying that forward to others. Also, while I enjoyed having Anansi around as a mystical, magical supporting character, and meaning that we could do more stuff with gods and help Spider-Man kind of get outside of his regular everyday box and adventures, I'm glad that they're leaving him where he is at the end of this, and essentially promising to go back to more street-level stuff in the next arc with some cool new animal-themed super thieves. Overall, I think I feel comfortable giving this one an 8.5 out of 10. I think when we look back at the greater Cody Ziegler run on Miles, I think this arc in particular is going to be one of those big ones that we always talk about, which is why I give it a very well-deserved 8.5 out of 10.
Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cape Joel again, thanking you so much for watching to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, why not check out my Amazon link down in the description. Yes, that's right, the Cape Joel channel officially has its own Amazon storefront now. You can pick up a comic or anything else for that matter, and if you did, you'd really be helping me and the channel. So with that out of the way everyone, I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.